The heavy rain cascaded down the windowpane as I stared blankly at the email on my laptop screen. The subject line read, "We need your help." It was from my mother. My estranged mother, to be precise. After 6 years of radio silence, this was the first time anyone from my family had reached out to me. The last time we spoke, I was a man shattered by betrayal, standing at the ruins of a life I had meticulously built. 6 years ago, my fiancée, Melissa, and I were on the verge of our wedding day. After a decade together, she was my world. We met in college, grew through life's hurdles, and envisioned a future brimming with love, trust, and shared dreams. That illusion crumbled when I discovered she was pregnant by my younger brother. Liam, I learned the truth weeks before our wedding, a cruel twist of fate that still haunts me. Melissa confessed everything, claiming it was a mistake, but the reality was undeniable: she left me for Liam. My brother married her within months, and I severed ties with my family, unable to endure their betrayal. The devastation was unbearable. Nights were sleepless, days were filled with haunting memories of what could have been. I packed my bags and left town, leaving behind a life I no longer recognized. Now, 6 years later, the past was clawing its way back into my life. The email was brief and vague: "Liam and Melissa need you. It's about their daughter, Clara. Please come home." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, torn between anger and a flicker of curiosity. I hadn't met Clara, my niece. The child conceived during the betrayal that destroyed my life. What could they possibly want from me? Against my better judgment, I booked a ticket back to my hometown. The journey felt surreal, like stepping into a time machine headed for a place I'd long buried. The house where I grew up loomed before me, unchanged yet alien. My mother's teary face greeted me at the door, her arms opening for an embrace I didn't reciprocate. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Liam looked older, his once boyish charm replaced by weariness. Melissa sat beside him, clutching a tissue, her eyes red and swollen. Between them sat Clara, a fragile 6-year-old with golden curls and a solemn expression far beyond her years. The sight of her struck me like a blow to the chest. She had Liam's eyes, but there was an innocence there untainted by the sins of her parents. "Thank you for coming," my mother began, her voice trembling. "I'm not here for pleasantries," I replied coldly. "What do you want from me?" Liam shifted uncomfortably. "It's Clara," he said. She's sick." Melissa's voice cracked as she added, "She has leukemia. The doctor said her best chance is a bone marrow transplant. None of us are a match." The weight of their words sank in. "And you think I might be?" Melissa nodded, her eyes pleading. "We've tried everything, but you're our last hope." I stared at them, the room spinning. They were asking me to save the child born from their betrayal. My anger surged, my fists clenching at my sides, but Clara's wide, innocent eyes stopped me. She was blameless in this mess. "I'll get tested," I said finally. "But this doesn't change anything between us." Relief washed over their faces, but I felt no satisfaction. The next few days were a whirlwind of hospital visits and medical tests. I avoided unnecessary conversations, staying at a hotel to keep my distance. Every time I closed my eyes, memories of Melissa's betrayal resurfaced like fresh wounds. How dare they ask this of me? Yet, Clara's delicate frame and brave smile haunted me, breaking through my defenses. When the results came in, the doctor confirmed what I'd both dreaded and hoped for: I was a match. The procedure was scheduled quickly. As the day approached, I found myself spending more time with Clara. Despite my initial hesitation, her curiosity and resilience chipped away at my walls. She asked questions about my life, my work, and even why I'd stayed away for so long. I struggled to find answers that wouldn't tarnish her view of her parents. "Do you hate my mommy and daddy?" she asked one day, her voice barely above a whisper. The question hit me like a thunderbolt. "I don't hate anyone," I lied. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, Clara. But you're the best thing they've ever done. As much as I tried to maintain my distance, I couldn't help but remember the Melissa I once loved. In quiet moments at the hospital, when we were both watching over Clara, I caught glimpses of her vulnerability, a stark contrast to the confident woman I had fallen for years ago. One evening, as Clara slept, Melissa turned to me, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "Do you ever think about what we had?" she whispered. The question sent a pang through my chest. "I try not to," I admitted. "It's easier that way." "For me, too," she said, her voice breaking. "But sometimes, in the middle of the night, I remember the way you used to look at me, as if I were the only person in the world." I didn't know how to respond. My heart was a battlefield of old wounds and lingering feelings. She reached out, her fingers brushing mine for just a moment before pulling back. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," she said. "But I want you to know that I've never stopped regretting what I did to you." "Melissa," I began, my voice heavy with emotion, "there are some things that can't be undone." "But Clara. She's worth it. She deserves a chance at life, and I'll do what I can for her." On the day of the transplant, I lay in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines. Clara was wheeled in beside me, her small hand reaching out to hold mine. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. The procedure was painful but successful. Weeks of recovery followed, during which I couldn't help but reflect on the twisted paths life had forced me to navigate. Clara's laughter, even in the face of her illness, became a beacon of light in my otherwise dark world. But the shadows of resentment and anger loomed large, refusing to be fully extinguished. One evening, as I prepared to return to my city, Melissa approached me outside the hospital. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," she said, her voice barely audible. "But I'm grateful for what you've done for Clara. I wish I could undo the past." I looked at her, the woman who'd once been my everything. "Undoing the past won't change the damage it caused," I replied. "I didn't do this for you. Clara deserves a chance at life. That's all that matters." Liam tried to speak to me as well, but I stopped him. "We're not brothers anymore," I said firmly. "What you did can't be undone. You broke me, Liam. But Clara. She's different. She's innocent." As I boarded the plane back home, I felt a strange sense of closure. The scars of betrayal would always remain, but I'd found a sliver of purpose in the chaos. I had saved a life, and in doing so, perhaps I had salvaged a fragment of my own humanity. Yet, as the plane ascended into the clouds, I couldn't shake the ache in my chest. Forgiveness was elusive, and peace felt like a distant dream. For now, all I could do was move forward step by painful step.